Good morning, friends. Welcome to my channel. Today start Salesforce developers sensor based intro questions. Very important video, helpful the intro level questions. Start the video. First question: User C needs access to certain accounts records but should not edit them. These records are currently private. How can you grant users C view only access? To grant users see view only access, you can use sharing rules to share the specific accounts records with public groups or roles that include users. See, the sharing rules should specify reads only access to ensure user C cannot edit the records. Next questions, user D can view all the data of users E, but users he cannot view users d yes data. Both users are is different roles but have the same profiles. What could be using this situation could be caused by users d being higher in the role hierarchy than users e. In the Salesforce, users in the higher roles can view records owned by users in lower the roles within their hierarchy. Alternative, users D might have been granted additional permissions thought a permission set or the sharing rules. Third question, a records owned by users F is a transfer to users G. What happened to the sharing settings applied to that records? When ownership of records change, Salesforce retain the existing sharing settings, but it also consider the permission of the new owners users G. If users G has a borders permission, they may inherit more access that the previous owners had. Manual sharing by the previous owner is a topically revoked unless re-applied by the new owners. Next questions. A records is shared with users with read-only access, but users A profile has edit permission. Can user A edit the records? No, user I cannot edit the records in Salesforce. Intersections of the object level security and records level security determine the access. In this case, object level security profiles permission. User profile allow editing the access of this object. Records level security sharing settings. The records is shared with the records only access. Salesforce rules, when there is a conflict, Salesforce applied the most restrictive setting. Here, the reads only sharing settings restrict user home editing despite there is profile permissions. Next, imagine a financial situations where two department, loans and investment, operate separately. To maintain the confidently employees in the loans department, user should not see customer investment records and vice area users B. Organize wide default OWD set of the OWD for the relevant object to the private disk settings. Ensure that its records are not the shares unless explicitly granted. Roles hierarchy. Ensure that user A and B are on the same levels in the role hierarchy or in the different branches without a common parents roles. This prevent automatic sharing thought the roles hierarchy. Third, profile permissions. Users A and B should not have modify all or view all's permission for the object, as this permission override sharing settings and grant access to all the records. Sharing rules. verify that there are no sharing rules or the manual sharing entires that grant access to the records between these two users. Next question. In this Salesforce, in the Salesforce, you are the required to the ensure that users can only log in from a specific set of IP address. How would you achieve this at organized levels? To restrict users from logging in only from a specific set of the IP address, you would use the login IP range features at the profile or permission set level in the Salesforce. To set this, they first navigate to the profile or permission set you want to be configured. Under the login IP range section, you can specify the start and end of the allowed the IP range. Save and settings. Next questions. A users repeat that they cannot see records owned by their is subordinate even thought they are higher in the role hierarchy. What could be the reasons? The most likely case is that the grant access using the hierarchies setting is not enabled for the specific object. This is setting allow users higher in the role hierarchy to automatically grant access to the records honored by the users below them. If this setting is the disables, the roles hierarchy will not the influence records visibility for this that is object. Next question. What happens to manual sharing settings when the ownership of the records is transferred to the another users? When ownership of the records is the transfer, all the manual sharing settings associated with the original owners are removed. The new owners must set up the new sharing settings as needed to the private access to the other users. Next, can a user see sorry specific feeds on the records if they have view access to the records but not the feeds? No, if feeds level security restrict access to the particular feeds, the users cannot see that feeds even if they have access to the records. Feeds level security controls visibility at the feeds levels independent of the records level of the object level permissions. Next question. What is the difference between the Apex managed sharing and with the sharings? Apex managed sharing is a use to the grant the access to the records. It's the about pro grammatically configures sharing rules. Keywords with the sharing is used to the respected the current user sharing rules. Next questions. What are the coordinations? Considerations with will using Apex managed sharings. If records owner the change, then sharing created thought Apex managed sharing are the maintained. But if users share records manually, then records sharing will be lost of owner change. Users with modify all data can only adds, edit or deletes records in share the tables. Next question. Can see be data, but the cannot see data. Why? Check following the conditions. Both users have some profiles. Check role hierarchy of A and B. Check sharing rules. Next questions. What is the share object? Every object has a share object. Share object is a junction between your object and the users you want to share the records. To access sharing the programmatically, you must use the share object associated with the standard or custom object. For example, account share is the sharing object for account object node object on the details side of the of master details relationship do not have a associated sharing object. Next questions. What is the permission set group? Permission set group is a features that is allow admin to the combine multiply permission set into the single permission set group of group for users assignment with the grouping the admin can be truly apply role role based access control for the managing users entitlement in the Salesforce version. Next questions: what are the some considerations for Apex manage sharings? Only users with the modify all data permission can add or the change Apex manage sharing on the records. Next question: what are the considerations of the sharing object can the details side of the master details relationship do not have an associated sharing object. You cannot create share object by the yourself. Systems create is for us if sharing setting of object is public. Reads write system will not the create share the object as there is no scope of sharings. All records is open to the everybody in org. However, if sharing the setting of the object is either public read only or private system itself create a share object for us. Next questions: Apex run in which modes? Apex generally runs in the system content context that is a current user's permission and the field level security are not the taken into the accounts during the code's executions. Next questions: what effect with sharing make on users is permission and FLS enforcing sharing rules by the using the with sharing keywords does not enforce the user's permissions and fields level security. Apex Code Act always has a access to all fields and object in the organization, ensuring that its code want to be failed to runs because of hidden fields or object for the users. Next questions: does strip in assembly in accessible support aggregate result object? The strip in accessible methods does not the support aggregate result object if the source records are of aggregate result object types and expectations is the throw. Next questions: there are 100 users, 19 users can read records, 10 users can update records. Create two profiles. First profiles give reads permission and add 19 users records. Second profiles give reads and edit permission and add the 110 users. Next, what are the limitations of OWD models? OWD narrow down the access, cannot open the access. Next, there are 5 users under on the profile and only one user see all the data. Account is private. Why? Create permission set with view all the access to the accounts and assign permission set to the specific users. Next questions. A marketing team's members cannot update campaign records, edit and view exiting the campaign read but cannot create a new campaign or delete the exiting. Only why? Object level security cannot the roles permission users have for the specific object, such as the ability to create, read, edit, and delete the accounts, delete the records. If a user can reads and edit but cannot the create or delete the records, it indicate that the profiles or the permission set lack create and delete permissions for that object. Next questions. Two users with the same profiles can see different set of the records for the same object. What might be the is using this disparity? This disparity is due to the organized wide default OWD and others records level security settings such as a roles hierarchy, sharing rules, or the manual sharings. The OWD settings define the baseline level of the access for the records, which can be features restrict or the extended by this additional machines. Next questions. User X and users Y have the same profiles with the edit access to the accounts object. The OWD for the accounts is set to private users. X can edit there is one accounts but cannot edit accounts owned by the users. Why is the happenings? This is because the OWD is set to the private. Even third, both users have edit access to the accounts object. View there is profile. They can only edit the records. They own to allow users X to the edit users Y accounts. Sharing rules or manual sharing must be the implemented. Thank you, friends. Very important video. Interview the questions and help the interview. Thank you, friends. Take care. Bye bye.